So welcome to our Wednesday session. We're going to be talking about more about Animal Reiki in the shelter. That's a really great topic for all of us. And you know what? You can use these techniques anywhere. You don't have to be in a shelter. But a couple of things I want to share before we get started is that we're going to be closed, or we're going to be taking time off the last 2 weeks, or not the last 2 weeks. From December, SARA is going to be closed from December 22nd until January 8th. So the first week of the new year and the last week of this year, we're going to be closed. This gives our support people time to be with their family and not worry about answering emails. It's also a very slow time of year, and it's a good time of year for all of us to be taking some time to decompress. You know, it's really funny. I was talking to Aina Spirit Walker, who was a guest on our show yesterday. I mean, she was a guest on our show. And then yesterday I was talking to her, and she was talking about, you know, being so busy right now. And I was telling her, I'm so busy right now. And it actually, we're going against the flow of, you know, our bodies, the flow of nature, the flow of everything when we are so busy during the winter, because naturally, our bodies want to slow down. We want to sleep more, and we're supposed to, because how our bodies work is in the winter, you slow down. In the winter, that's when you like sleep a lot. You act like a bear. You act like Lola the bear. You hibernate, you go inward, you do less. You eat, you know, comforting foods. You do things to comfort your body, and you get lots and lots of rest. So that when spring comes, you have energy. So now spring's coming, right? Now that's the time to plant. That's the time to have ideas and to start doing stuff. Summer is the time where it's like, wow, you're reaping all the benefits. It's like, you don't need that much sleep in the summer. You only need like 6 hours a night in the summer, really, if you're getting the proper rest in winter. So be mindful when you're pushing yourself in the wintertime. Hey, Karen, good to see you. Wendy, thanks for joining. Melissa, I'm so glad you're here. I'm going to see you later this afternoon, so I'm so happy to see you now. And Gretchen, thank you so much for joining us. And Beth, so good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. So, you know, if we honor our true cycles of our bodies, in winter, get lots of rest. You know, yes, you have a lot to do, but get lots of sleep, take naps, do what you can to really rejuvenate your body so you're not depleting yourself. So that in the springtime, when spring comes, you're like, yes, I've got energy. I can do this. And then summer, you're like, woo, living it up. And then fall comes and you start to wind down again, right? You start to slow down a little bit. Start to sleep just a little bit more. Winter comes, you're going to be sleeping 9 hours a night. You need that. Your body needs it. Even like in the daytime, you should be doing your busy work in the morning when you have all your energy. And then as the afternoon comes, you start slowing down. And as the evening comes, you know, you get lots of rest, and then you start winding yourself back up again. You are, you know, your whole body are the seasons too. Your body is the seasons too. So just be really respectful of that. And it helps your energy levels. Obviously, I need to pay attention to my advice because I'm sick, and I obviously haven't been paying attention to any of that. So just a reminder for me too. So anyway, we're still getting people joining us. I don't want to get to the good stuff yet. Also, I know Kelly's got some classes coming up in January. I decided I was going to teach my online classes. I decided to scratch that because I have to get a job, and I don't know what my hours are going to be. So what I am going to do is I talked to Kristen at CARE yesterday, and I am going to do a live Animal Reiki for Reiki practitioner class at CARE in the first weekend of March. Thank you, Kelly. I'm very excited. For those of you who have been to CARE, it is an amazing place, as you know. For those of you who don't, this is a great opportunity for you to learn Animal Reiki, but learn it with some of the best teachers in the world. The animals at CARE are just amazing. I mean, how many people can say, I have meditated with a tiger? I'm sorry. And if you open up with that, if you're like, hey, what's Animal Reiki? Oh, well, it's like meditation. Well, actually, I do it with tigers. What? And then everybody is like, Tell me more about that. It's an immediate buy-in. So I'm encouraging you, come to care. Kathleen, if you've already studied the Let Animals Lead method, Kathleen is doing a level 3 the weekend before my Animal Reiki for Reiki practitioners class. So I encourage you, if you want to learn to teach the Let Animals Lead way, I encourage you to join us then. I will also be there then. So some really great opportunity to study. Kelly's got some great online classes starting in January. I think the end of January. Is that right, Kelly?
Yeah, they start like the second week in January and go to the end of February. Levels 1, 2, and 3 are all on the schedule.
So this is a great time if you can't come out in person, study with Kelly. If you can come out in person, you want to learn level 3, you can study with Kathleen. If you don't know Animal Reiki, I mean, you're a Reiki practitioner, but you don't know Animal Reiki and you want to come out and study with me at CARE. If you've already taken my my Animal Reiki for Reiki practitioners class, especially the live one, and you have the manual, you'll get a deep discount on the price. Obviously, it's a reset fee. You can come and join us. We have to charge something because we give a very large donation to Kristen to help support her animals and to help support the amazing work that she is doing. And I will tell you this, when you go to CARE, and Beth and Kelly can support this, that we get unprecedented access to these animals. You get unprecedented access to a tiger, and there's nothing better than sharing Reiki with a tiger and have them literally look at you with big eyes and just like, I love you so much. It is the most amazing feeling. Your whole entire life will change. And also Lola the bear too. Oh my God, she's so sweet. It's like, and all of these animals are amazing teachers. There's all kinds of smaller animals like raccoons,
Pikachus and
what's
Gerbil.
that? What's the I always want to call him a Kathmandu, but he's a Kalamazoo or Kalamazoo.
Catamount.
What?
Catamount? No, she has a panther, right? Who's in with the raccoons and the kitties?
Oh no, that is a not a bobcat.
Bobcat. Oh yeah, bobcat. Yeah.
That's Hannibal. But there's all kinds. There's farm animals. But what's really cool about being
lemurs. That's what I was thinking.
Oh yeah, lemurs. There's 4 lemurs. And it's really cool. And then monkeys. And there's
foxes.
Oh, and foxes. Yes. Oh yeah, there's quite a few foxes. The foxes are really quite amazing. But I encourage you, and I'll send a video of CARE in the recap video, but I encourage you to check CARE out. Check out this video. Talks about the animals, shows you the property, and you can see just how magical it is. But it's studying Animal Reiki with these animals is such a once in a lifetime experience because of the unprecedented access, but also because you get to experience firsthand the magic of what we do and the magic of connection. Because as I've said before, I think in other calls, when we go there, it's very loud because there's farm animals, there's wild birds, there's like, it's very noisy. And we were there for 3 days, but usually by the second day, most definitely by the third, it gets quiet. And you're like, this is weird, because it's not just the animals on CARE property, it's all the animals. I mean, all the wild birds, everybody is just leaning in and everybody is like here and we're all connected, and it's really beautiful. And you get to deeply experience what that means and how your energy is a part of this bigger fabric once you go to CARE, and how we're all really deeply connected. So again, you have some great opportunities to study there. I just wanted to make a plug for that. For those of you who just joined, we're going to be, we won't have a Wednesday meeting the last week of December or the first week of January. And that's because SARA is closed and we're giving all of our team, it's only like 3 people, time off with their families, and us too, we give ourselves a break. And so that's what we're doing. But I want to say really quickly before we start, hello to, I think I said hello to Wendy, to Dana, and Melissa, I saw you and said hi. Monika, thank you so much for joining us. today is really Monika. Many of you know she is in Croatia. She works for a shelter, and there's over 500 animals. So it'll be great to hear her input on how the Let Animals Lead method works at her shelter. And then Kelly and I are going to be talking to you about what an animal Reiki session looks like as well. And so Debbie, welcome, and Kathy, as I said hi, and Mary Lynn. When people put on their cameras, then it goes out of order. But Mary Lynn, so great to see you. Oh, I'm so great. I'm so glad you're here. Hello, and Darlene is here. Yay! All right, so let's get started. I have a list here. I want to get started. I don't want to miss anything. So when we're talking about offering animal Reiki, before you even go into a shelter, I am a big proponent about this. We've had, and I know Kelly can back this up, we've had people say to us, do I really need to go through the training? And we talked a little bit about this last week. Do I need to go through the training at my shelter if I just want to share Reiki? So, do I have to go through the dog socializing, or do I have to go through whatever they're offering in order to be a volunteer? And the answer is absolutely yes. And the reason for that being is if an animal were to get out, or if something were to happen during one of your sessions, you won't know the protocol. And that's really dangerous, not only for you, but for the shelter and for the animal. You're setting the animal up for failure. And I will say this, for kill shelters, and you'd be surprised at the shelters that are kill shelters. They're the ones that are like, we don't kill unnecessarily, but they do put animals down. And I remember one time, there was a dog that had gotten Reiki. It was like this miracle story. She had gotten adopted, and the adopter was not good. And she was returned, and she was a mess. And they didn't put the muzzle on her correctly, and she bit a staff member, and she was put down. So, and she was a little dog. It wasn't like it was a bad thing, but they don't tolerate biting, and they put dogs down that bite. So we always want to set animals up for success and making sure that we're following all the protocol. Now, that protocol wasn't followed by the actual shelter. There was nothing that could be done to help Minnie. But for ourselves, we would never want to set an animal up for failure. So always go through the training. And another reason, I'm going to talk a little bit right now about larger shelters. And then I'm going to turn it over to Kelly, because Kelly has a lot of experience with the smaller shelters. And there really is a big difference between small shelters and large shelters. So in large shelters, you're going to have a lot of different opportunities to volunteer. A lot of times they'll have a spay and neuter section. So you can go through the training and then offer to sit with the animals while they're in recovery. Let them know you do meditation, you're just sitting there. They might have like special, I know at the Oregon Humane Society where I was, they had like a volunteer where you could just go, I think it was called Comfort or something, and you could just go and sit in one of the enclosures with an animal and just offer just love and support. That's a great opportunity to offer Reiki, and that's what I use that as my time. Also, with bigger shelters, sometimes when you go through all the levels of or all the levels in order to get to the more high risk animals, when you go through those levels, then you can go to a private section of the larger shelter. And that's where I was allowed access. And then you can share Reiki with some of the animals that are being quarantined, or they're animals that were maybe confiscated out of a hoarding situation. A lot of times animals get confiscated. They can't put them out in the public, because what happens is the people who are hoarding, they send friends and family in to readopt the dogs and bring them back to the hoarding situation. So like at Oregon Humane Society, it was very big. They had their whole police department and everything there. They were very well versed in that. So they had a whole huge, like it was almost the size of what a regular smaller shelter would be for hoarding situations. And then I could go back there and just sit with the animals. So there's lots of different ways, even socializing with the dog, going out on a walk, but I'll let Kelly talk a little bit more about that. But so with larger shelters, you kind of have a little bit more opportunity in their, volunteer orientation. You have a lot of opportunities to meet staff to meet other volunteers and to kind of get a feel of the land, like, oh, okay, what's going on? There's a lot of people usually at the bigger shelters when they do orientations. They usually do them like once a week or twice a month or something. And so they want to get as many people as possible. And I like that because you really get to understand, oh, there's all these different opportunities to volunteer. And then you get to talk to the people in those departments and say, oh, this is what I do. And maybe this would be a good fit, maybe it wouldn't, right? So I love the bigger shelters for that. But then also with the bigger shelters, sometimes it can be harder to explain what you do because there are so many people and maybe one person knows what you do, but the other person doesn't. And sometimes you're kind of like a lone wolf. And there's nothing wrong with that. I did that for a while at Oregon Humane Society. It was just almost impossible to get to talk to the person that would be in charge. And even though I got in front of really high up people and I thought, oh, this is it, they're going to be open, it just wasn't the right person. So also perseverance for that. Another thing with, I mentioned like they have spay and neuter, but I know at the Silicon Valley Humane Society here in outside of San Jose, they actually have a hospital. So you can volunteer in the hospital, which is a really great place because you can be there again when the animals come out of surgery or just animals that are recovering, or sometimes animals who just can't be out in the public. They have special areas for them. And because maybe they have giardia or they have other ailments that they're not necessarily getting surgery for, but they're still not well. And that's a really wonderful place to go and volunteer. And I always felt like the hospital people were always really open to this because they could see immediately how relaxed the animals got. Like if a dog was crying and whimpering, the dog started to relax. And they were always like, oh, wow, could you sit? And it was funny too, because there's like a recovery room where there's lots of animals. They would say, oh, could you sit with like this animal, not realizing, your energy is going everywhere. So just kind of feel it out and decide, is there a larger one in my area? Do I want to be in a larger one? Or would I like to be more in a smaller one, like what Kelly usually has? And so Kelly, I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about the smaller ones.
Yeah, thanks, Leah. I think also that's really great information. And the other thing I would add to making sure you do the volunteer orientation, don't kind of complain about it. First of all, you don't want to set yourself up as being the person who doesn't want to, play by the rules or do what what we're asking of them. But also it's a good opportunity for you to see, is this really good for me? Is this am I the right fit with this shelter? And also, I don't know if we'll go into this a little bit more today about how are we feeling about going in and working with the animals who are in a shelter situation. So it's also a way for you to see how prepared you really are to do such a thing. So my shelter doesn't have a hospital, but we do have an isolation room. I've been going long enough and the staff knows me well enough where they'll ask me to go in. Because I've been going there so long, I can go into any of the areas of the shelter, which isn't true for a lot of volunteers. Most volunteers actually. None of my students can go into anywhere else, but I can go back into the intake room for the cats, for instance, and the intake for the dogs, and then the ISO area.
What would you suggest though, Kelly? So like your students can't go into those areas. So where can your students go? And like, what would that look like for them?
Yeah, so we have 2 cat rooms that are open and several cats in. There are usually kennel cages along the hallway. Up in the front office, there are always cats and kittens, and they can go in with the dogs in the front row of the kennel where they're adoptable. Sometimes they have a dog that maybe and they have like a meeting room, so they might have a dog in a meeting room. But that's always, on the, whether or not the staff thinks it's okay for us to go in. But once I've got everybody set up, and I can just, go in other places. But it's really, I think, I think you made really great points about, you get the information. I said last week how I had a cat escape on me one time, and I was lucky to be able to catch her really quickly, but a cat out in a shelter is going to make everybody crazy. The cat can get into places. and hide, easily. And in the dog, if they go into the dog area, that's just getting, problematic as well. So being able to know what to do. And I love that you talked about also meeting other people, other volunteers, staff members. The more we get our names out there, our faces there, and they see us meditating with the animals, and following protocol with the shelter, as well as let animals leave protocol, and they're more likely to to pay attention to what we're doing and kind of see, oh, this really is helping. This is amazing how quiet this dog is, or how relaxed the cat is, or the one that didn't want to come out and was hiding, is now coming forward.
That's a big one. Like
Mhm.
a lot of shy, especially the cats. You'll see that a lot. But again, this takes the first step, kind of like going through a step. Again, like Kelly was saying, we got to go through the volunteer. You've got to like make sure, is this a good fit? Also, you're going to meet the people, especially in the smaller ones, right, Kelly? You really get to know like, oh, maybe this personality, because you're going to be in very small confined area. Larger ones, someone's got a weird personality. So you're like, yeah, I'm probably not even going to see that person that much. But in a smaller one, it's a lot more intimate. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. However, for the shelter I'm in, I mean, there's a lot of turnover.
Mm.
And so, people burn out really fast, especially the staff that's actually doing the cleaning and all of that. They burn out kind of pretty fast. There is one thing that, the director and the assistant director see, and the board sees, that I've been there for years, right? And just still coming. And so, they start to see us as being reliable, and willing to do the extra work, not just, sitting in meditation and working with the animals that we love, but chipping in, doing dishes and that sort of thing.
Absolutely. And I think that you point out something really important, that when you make that commitment, and we talked a little bit about this last week, when you make that commitment to go to the shelter, be committed to it, be consistent, be there, and don't take on too much. I mean, I think that that's another thing that happens when we volunteer, that we want to take more and more and more and more on. Really only take on what you can comfortably take on. So for example, let's say you want to clean cages, or, when I worked in the hospital, I could volunteer 2 hours in the hospital because I wanted my third hour to be offering Reiki. So I would tell them I'm going to do 2 hours cleaning and then 1 hour sitting with the animals, if that's okay. So really what it was, basically, I'm going to commit 2 hours to volunteering. And then I would say at the end of those 2 hours, oh, do you mind if I go sit with the animals? That's how I started. And then they would be like, oh yeah, oh, are you going to go sit with the animals today? Because really this animal's not doing well, or this animal. So, and that was after a while. It took a couple of months. But what I loved about being in the hospital was it was always really quiet, and it wasn't as chaotic. And they really, really appreciated help, and you got to know people. So if you can find an area of the shelter where they need help and you're kind of getting some interaction, and where they can also see you, I think that that's important. But again, just make sure that when you are volunteering, that you're feeling comfortable with it, right? And that you're not overextending. Once you overextend, you're going to get burnout. So just make that commitment that you can do. I mean, obviously things are going to happen, right, Kelly? Like, family comes into town, or maybe you get sick and you're sick for like 3 weeks. Always make sure you tell them, be that type of person, even if in the big ones, just tell somebody, because usually in the big ones have somebody you're kind of reporting to, like the lead volunteer. And you can say, hey, I know I usually come on Saturdays or Thursday or whatever that is. I'm not going to be able to show up for the next 3 weeks. And then they know, oh, okay, we're going to be shorthanded. I remember at Oregon Humane Society, they, dog walkers were really important. And there were some days when there weren't enough dog walkers, and it was really stressful for people, even though it was a huge one and they had lots of volunteers. There's all different levels of dogs, right? So if you only have one person who has to walk all the red flag dogs, and you have a bunch of people who can do the green dogs, well, the green dogs are going to get walked really fast, but the yellow and red dogs aren't going to get the attention they need because you're only one person. So always making sure, so that then they can call other volunteers and say, hey, could you please come in? So I think that that's a really important thing. And I don't know, Kelly, if there's anything more you want to add just about like the semantics of.
Well, I think one thing I would like to add is that we, we're representing what we do. We're representing SARA, and we're representing.
Well, some of us aren't representing SARA.
Well, but also we're representing Animal Reiki in the shelter, right?
Yeah.
So so it, a lot of shelters are going to be, and staff are going to be very focused on what we're doing if they're not familiar with it. Well, maybe let's see, is this really going to work? So we may get more attention than, somebody coming in to walk dogs, right? So it's important for us to again, just be very mindful of how we're approaching the animals, how we're dealing with the staff, and not giving them any reason to just say, oh yeah, they're crazy, they're woo-woo, we don't need that here. But just sometimes it feels like we're we see things that, staff wise, politics, that kind of thing, that is, kind of going against, it's difficult for us, but we can step back from that. We don't get involved in any of that. So we're just there to do our work, and we're there to do it in a way that's really mindful, with an awareness of the needs of the shelter first, and the staff, the needs of the animals and the shelter, right? So, sometimes we could be all like, oh yeah, I'm coming in to do Animal Reiki and I'm gonna, save the day. and we can't go in with that, that kind of mindset, going in, with humility, and just, offering this service, I think is the best way to go about it.
And not getting upset if they don't understand. It's okay if they don't understand. It's okay if they think you're weird. I mean, I think, well, Kathleen is the OG person that felt probably the weirdest. I mean, imagine Kathleen, 1998 or 99. She's in the shelter. And back then they didn't have a lot of the apartments that they do now, which is a lot easier to go in and just sit and socialize. So she's sitting outside the cages at, the humane, or no, it was the animal control in Berkeley. And she's just meditating, right? Just sitting there. I mean, hello, that's really uncomfortable. But like we shared last week, what does she always say? If you don't do it, who will? And your energy does help. Now, if you can't go to the shelter, you could do distant, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But so for right now, just go to the shelter, figure it out, find a shelter that you like, maybe follow them on social media first. See if you like the feel of what they're doing, and then go in and do their volunteer session. But first, even before that, make sure you have time to volunteer. Don't find some place that's like 2 hours from you, where you're probably not going to get there more than once a month. Another thing Kathleen says is there is no shortage of suffering animals. There is something close to you, I can promise you. So just find something. You might find like a little animal rescue, maybe a foster network where you could even help with foster parents. But going back to the shelters, okay, so now that we are volunteering and we want to offer Reiki, what do we do? How does this look? Well, first of all, even before you go into that shelter, because like Kelly was saying, you want to always make a really great impression on the people. Become emotionally stable. Do your grounding breath. Make sure you're comfortable. You're wearing comfortable clothes. If you need a little chair, like make sure you have like a little fold-up chair, one that's not going to take up a bunch of room, just something for yourself. If you need to stay focused in the noisy shelter, you could wear earplugs or have music playing, but always make sure that you can also hear, because that's another thing. Somebody might be yelling at you. Somebody might be trying to tell you something. You always want to make sure that you can still hear what's happening. But get yourself prepared before you even go into the shelter. You want to make sure that, you're set, you feel strong, so that when things happen, like let's say you get in there and somebody's really stressed out and they're like, oh my gosh, we need so much help, and they start coming at you, you can be like, okay, no problem. And you don't take things personally. You want to have that inner strength going on before you even go into the shelter. And of course, if you're feeling yourself becoming off, you just go back to your Joshin Kokyu breathing, or just a belly breath, breathing deep into your belly, and then releasing, right? Say the precepts, whatever it is that you can bring strength into your body. And I don't know, Kelly, if there's other things that you do to center yourself before you even get to the shelter, before you walk in the door.
Yeah, I try really hard not to be rushed.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, I gotta get there, da, 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 I'm rushing there and I'm running late or whatever. But just taking some time for breaths before I go in. I always greet the staff when I come in so they know I'm there, and they just don't come upon me at some point and, oh, what are you doing here? Check in with and I check in with the staff also to see, who may need some extra attention that day. Um, I have one of those little fold up stools that you can get, like, I don't know, at Target or something, because I don't like sitting on the cold concrete anymore. It's getting harder and harder to get up at my advanced age. And so that's, really, I just bring it in with me and leave with it, and keep it right in my car. So also just, like you were saying, I mean, I wear, sometimes I wear earplugs, sometimes I have my headphones in, and but always enough so that I can hear the staff coming by, or if they're in the area and I feel like I need to leave, I can get up pretty quickly and go. I'm sitting on the floor. I can't get up as quickly as if I'm on the stool, and I can
That's
get up and get
true.
out of their way. So
Especially if they're cleaning and they've got the water going, and it's like you've got to get up fast to get in moved. So yeah,
yes, we never get in their way ever.
exactly. So you just want to make sure you're all prepared. So if you're going to do a different type of volunteering, walk dogs, whatever, even walking dogs though, and even socializing cats, remember that's a time for you to center yourself, do your breath, and share your energy. Right? It's not Reiki on, Reiki off. We're not using our hands. It's a way of being. So just being in that beautiful space. And if you find your mind wandering, or you find yourself getting sad or upset, maybe an animal's condition, or you read their little card and you get upset, bring yourself back into that place, because remembering that worry and anger don't serve anything, and your energy changes, and the animals, people don't feel it as much, but the animals will really tune into that. So do your socialize or whatever you got to do. But if you're going to do, like, your formal session, I love that Kelly has that little collapsible stool, because if you're in a shelter that doesn't have like apartments, well, the ones that have the apartments, the big enclosures, those are easy because you can go in there, you can sit or you can stand or whatever that looks like. But some of the other shelters, they might just have rows and you might have to sit outside. So maybe putting yourself in a position at the end of the hall or something, so that you're not in anybody's way. If it's not a busy time at the shelter, you could put yourself positioned in front of an enclosure or a cage. So how does that look though? We never want to be facing the animal and staring at the animal and like, I'm here, I'm going to be offering Reiki. That could be really threatening. Turn to the side. Just, keep your eyes cast down. If you can't, if you're sitting on the floor, kind of turn to the side a little bit so that you're not in this threatening position, that you're just going to meditate. And then remember to always let the animals know what you're doing. It's not animal communication. You just want to say, I'm here. I'm just going to meditate. I would love for you to join me if you want. And if you don't, that's totally fine. It's completely up to you. Now, when we go into a cage with a crazy dog, right, Kelly, that's a lot harder. You're not going to have this beautiful, peaceful setting to do Reiki. You are going to have a dog jumping on you. I know, and I'd love to hear from Monika about this too. You're going to have a dog jumping on you, really excited. And so you might have to stand the whole time. So be prepared for that. Wear comfortable shoes. If you can't stand for, 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, then don't work with the excitable dogs. Maybe try to work outside their enclosure, or you can always send distant Reiki to them. But if you are able, with what I would do is I would stand there, let the dog kind of do their thing, turn, you always want to turn your back. You don't want them jumping on it. That's bad. So we always turn so that they get off, and then, make sure they have 4 on the floor. And then you just go into your space. It is a little more distracting when they're really hyper, but remember, they don't know you. They don't know that you're not there to walk. They don't know that you're not there to give treats. If you're a stranger to them, they're just kind of trying to figure out, well, what are you here for? What are you here for? And then after they start to feel your energy, they may or may not calm down for the entire session. They might be, and then stop and then go, it will kind of happen sporadically, but they're still kind of spazzy. It doesn't mean didn't work. just means they're getting used to it. So maybe the second time you go, they'll be a little less spazzy. The third time you go, be a little less, probably half and half. And then by the fourth time, they know what you're there for. They understand it. They trust you. So that's something that I do. Kelly, I don't know if you want to say, like, when you're working with dogs, or
Yeah,
what
so
shelter.
when I go in usually go into the back kennel, where they're on, being assessed, right? So I do give them treats when I get there. I have a treat for each of the dogs. Is like 8 kennels in the row, and I'll put a treat, in for each dog, just so that they associate me with something good. And then I'll just sit in the kennel and just start doing Reiki, unless there's somebody specific they want me to work with. But also, I think it's great you pointed out, like, if you're in with a dog that's really, jumpy and everything, to stand, never sit down with a dog that is bigger than you, that you don't know, who could take you out, knock you right over. So we have to think about also our own safety, and if something happens to us, it's a reflection on the shelter. The dog can get in trouble, like you were saying earlier. So we have to be very careful of, when we're in with them. I don't, once in a while they have a dog in the breeding room, and I'll go in, they try to get them out of the back kennels where, it's just too loud and they're not doing well. So I'll go in with those dogs. But most of the time lately, they've all been in the kennels. And so, I take my little stool and I start doing my thing. And then if dogs seem like they're really, really not happy with what I'm doing, I'll move down, down the row somewhat, and just offer to everybody, obviously. So.
Yeah, and that's good. And then also, cats are dangerous. Be really careful with cats. There are sometimes you go in with a cat, the cat's a biter. Cats scare me. So it's like, I'm always a little bit hesitant when I go in to offer Reiki with the cats. Like in a cat room, it's a little different. They don't usually put biters in the general, like the socialization room. So it feels a little safer. So you can sit down with cats, but just always be really mindful. Keep your hands to yourself. Cats get overstimulated very easily. And, we're not going to go into all the different, ways you can tell a cat's overstimulated, but just be mindful. And that's another reason why you have to go through the training. You want to learn, what is the warning signal for a cat? What is the warning signal from a dog? Because all animals will give you a warning before they do anything. It might be a slight warning. It might just be a lift of the eyebrow. It might be something really subtle, but you kind of need to know it, which is another reason we have to do those. We have to do the orientation. The other thing about cats is when you are sitting there, right? They love to rub up against you. They want to be petted. And your instinct is, oh, I want to pet him. With cats, not so much the dogs, but with cats, just a gentle rub, a slow one. And then put your hands to yourself, because you don't know the cat. And like Kelly was saying, don't want to set that animal up for failure if the cat bites you. And cat bites are really dangerous. They can be. So you can get a really bad infection from one. So you just always want to make sure that you're safe. And if you're not sure about a cat and you've heard they're a biter, then maybe you want to do it outside the kennel, or maybe you want to work with a different cat and do distance with that cat. Doesn't mean that you're going to give up on that cat because they have issues. It just means that you're going to come about it a different way with them. So I think go ahead, Kelly.
I was just going to say, it's also important to notify the staff if a cat is one that likely is a biter, for instance, because when they have the public coming in and they're going into the room, maybe with their children, they can take that cat out of the cat room and put them in a kennel, so that they're not, just free roaming and could get in trouble and be in bite quarantine. And so, when that happens, or even if you see any kind of, like with the cats, especially respiratory stuff starting, you always let the staff know, because they need to be aware of it and treat it right away.
Yeah, and I think that's the one good thing about Reiki too, because you're with the animals and you're quiet and you get to observe. Unlike most volunteers are coming in to either clean or do something, and so there's always action happening. Mm-hmm. But you're there sitting quietly, so a lot of times you can observe things that other people aren't seeing. And I know that all the shelters where I've volunteered, they've always said, don't feel like you can't tell us, even if it sounds stupid, or even if it seems like redundant, or you think somebody already knows it, just tell us anyway, because that way they're informed. And that's where you can be a real advocate and a valuable asset to the shelter. If you're the one that's like kind of picking up on things, it's like, oh, I noticed, like, I remember one time I was in there and I noticed that this dog was walking fine, and then occasionally kind of slipped. But that I only noticed it because we were in this enclosure and they weren't noticing it on walks. And so they were like, oh, wow, thank you so much. We never would have seen that because it didn't happen enough and it was subtle enough. It was weird. But there's things that you might pick up on that are going to be it's going to be really valuable information for the shelter. So Monika, I don't know if you can unmute yourself, because I want to talk a little bit about dogs, and that's mostly who Monika works with. And just like, when we're offering, hey, Monika, welcome.
Hey everyone.
So I just wanted to turn it to you because I know that you are in the shelter, you are staff, and you also share Reiki, and just how you're approaching animals who are maybe shy or maybe over exuberant.
Yes, I usually meditate with shy ones because I somehow relate to them mostly. But of course, we have lots of them who are excited and overwhelmed. And as a matter of fact, I have 2 dogs that I'm walking that are really, really excited. And when I come in their cage, they are jumping on my head. It's really, really annoying. But I have to take them out somehow. So sometimes I really need to take a few deep breaths before I go in. So yeah, it's pretty amazing how these deep breaths can help in situations like that. Sorry.
To really center yourself. Yeah, I love that. And then, with the Shire, I know that you have that really amazing story that we've shared on our blog about heart, and how, the Shire dogs, it takes a long time.
Yes.
So we shouldn't give up on them. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yes, with heart especially, I had weeks that I've been sitting with her, just sitting in the corner, just doing nothing, just meditating, just sharing energy, sharing light and love. And it took me weeks, and she really taught me a lot about patience, because she really needed a long time to open up. And when she finally decided to give herself, I don't know how to say it, to surrender, after that moment, I could do anything with her. So I could touch her, I could pet her, I could carry her, I could wash her, I could brush her, just everything. But until that moment, it needed so much time, but it was worth it.
I love that. I love that you said it was worth it, because it really is. I mean, we can't give up.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
It was really a moment that taught me what Let Animals Lead method is all about. In that moment, I really realized, oh yes, that's it. Now she was ready at that moment, and it was the time she needed, and I gave her that time. And it was really, really, really touching for me.
Oh, I love that so much. And I love that because we kind of sometimes want to give up. We're going to go, oh, they just don't. We hear this all the time, don't we, Kelly? Oh, they just don't like it. They just don't like it. And it's like, really? Maybe they just don't know you. Maybe they're having a hard time. It would be like if you're really messed up and you go to a therapist and you don't come out completely relieved and happy. And then, the therapist goes, oh, well, she just didn't like it. So, no more sessions for her. I mean, it's going to take time and effort with these animals, which is why you want to volunteer consistently. So you can consistently go in and see their progress, and then also be supporting them distantly. So Monika, I know that we've talked about this a little bit before, but it's very overwhelming with 500 animals, right? And you want to help them all. What is one of the things that you do to just try to keep yourself centered and hopeful at the shelter?
I usually do precepts in the morning, and all is well, and deep breathing. And sometimes it's so overwhelming that when you're in the middle of it, you forget about everything. You're so stressed, and it's so loud, and usually people cannot even imagine how it is to be around 500 dogs who are barking at the same time. So sometimes, yeah, for me, it's just a second to remind myself all is well, or Reiki, please help, or something in my mind that reminds me to calm down, to center myself, and that is what you taught me also, just to think about myself as a light and to share the light. And yeah, that really helps a lot.
I love that, Monika. Thank you so much. And, and you can go on our SARA blog and you can see a couple of the little different blogs from Monika. And we're just so honored that, she's staff. So that's so wonderful. And she's using this and she's seeing results. And so I think it's so encouraging for all of us. If Monika can do it in Croatia with 500 dogs, then we could definitely go out and support our local shelters for a couple hours a week. And I know, Monika, we're all sending you. Go ahead.
I wanted to say Croatia is really small country, and I don't know if there is Animal Reiki, if it's even well known, probably not. And I don't know who does it in Croatia. So yeah, I think it's really important. If you're just one person, this one person can change life maybe for one animal, but it's life for that animal. It's really important thing to do.
Yeah. Every animal counts. And I love that. And, we don't know how many other animals you're affecting either, Monika, just from your light. Right. I mean, and so it's really important to get out there and do that. And, Monika, I don't know if we even know the name of your shelter, but if you wanted to, you could put it out there for us and we can all be offering Reiki to your shelter and to you.
Yeah, or writing.
Yeah, if you put in the chat, that would be great. So
if we have time, I have one more example.
Oh yeah, go right ahead, please.
So recently, one female that was pregnant came to the shelter, and she was very, very, very scared. She was growling at us, barking. She didn't even let her caretaker to get in to clean her cage. So it was really hard with her, and I just sat few days in front of her cage, and it's usually just few minutes. I usually don't have much more time, but I think even a minute or even this one sentence, "You're important to me, I care about you," means a lot to them. So I did that few times in a row, and slowly she started to relax, and she even let us in to, we realized how we can work with her. So she goes out and she eats outside, and in that time we cleaned her cage. And then when she started to relax, she gave birth, and then she closed herself up again because she was protecting the babies. And again, we couldn't go in because she was really, really, really protective over them. And it was sad for me, and it was worrying. We were worried about the babies because we couldn't change the blanket, and they were lying on the wet blanket. And this one day, two more mamas were next to her, and they were fighting, and it was very, very loud. And I just went in and I sat in the corner, and I just took few deep breaths, and I was just, okay, please help somehow. All is well, all is well. And after just 2 minutes, she stood up from her babies and she came to my lap. and she went out with me, and my colleague gave me blankets so I could change the blankets fast when she was outside. And after that moment, we realized how we can do it. And after a few days, she knew what she knew what the ritual was. And yeah, I saw it immediately how it is working again.
Oh my gosh. I love that. That's so emotional. I love that. Thank you so much, Monika, because that reminds all of us, don't give up. It's not a lost cause. It's just not right now, right? It's just not right now. And it is working, because had you not been building up, right, she wouldn't have trusted you when you sat down in her cage. So just that buildup, every little bit does work. It does help. You may not be getting these amazing results, right, Monika? You have to be patient, and it's easy to lose patience. And again, remember, Monika doesn't have the like what we do, like 20 to 30 minutes to go sit with these animals. She's just doing a few minutes, but you can see just a few minutes makes a huge difference. So even if you're in the shelter and you only, you don't have, like, it's a busy day, you're not going to have time to sit there, and just when you're in there, when you're taking them for a walk, when you're cleaning the cage, sharing that beautiful energy of love and light and acceptance. I see you. Oh, thank you. Mary says, Monika, fantastic, proud of you. Yay. I mean, let's just give an energetic hug to Monika for the hard work that she does, for the thankless work that she does. And, it is important, Monika, and I'm so grateful to you for coming as much as you can, not every week, but as much as you can, and for sharing your stories and for sharing your energy, because it really is inspiring for all of us. And it makes us realize, if Monika can do this in the conditions that she's doing this in, we can all do it in these cushy little American conditions that these animals are in, most of them, right? Not all of them, but most of them. Was there anything else you want to add, Monika?
Yeah, I just wanted to add we had a meeting, I don't know, a few weeks ago with hands on and off. Yes, I couldn't do hands-on with dogs like this, and usually when they're so shy and scared, you cannot do it. But it's still working without hands, so it was important for me to say that you don't have to use your hands.
Oh, good. Yes, thank you. And that is so important, right? I mean, because hands can be weapons to dogs like the ones at the shelter, and we have to be really cognizant of that. But also, Monika, Olive said, so heartfelt and loving. So thank you so much for sharing your life. We really appreciate you. So that's how it's going to kind of look in a shelter, right? Like all these different kind of variables. Oh, Jemmy says, I understand no eye contact and not facing an animal at the start of session. Any tips to observe them during Reiki treatment so they're so comfortable? I mean, if you're to the side, you can kind of look over and glance. You just don't want to be like in predator mode. You don't want to be like, I taught a bunny class one time, and I told them all, just like sit to the side, make sure. And they all sat in front of the bunnies like this, doing their, and it's like all the bunnies were back in like you don't want to be a predator, especially to prey animals. So you could do it like from the side, or just kind of you could put yourself off further, and that way you can kind of observe what they're doing without like necessarily being right on them. Or if you're in a room with a lot of them, just sit yourself in the middle and look down, and you can kind of look around. I remember in the old shelter at Silicon Valley, they had like a room with the cats. And it was funny because I would sit in the middle. These were the cats in the hospital recovery. And like some cats would be leaning out so far, their arms are hanging out, and they were just so present, wanting to get as close. And then some of them were just still back, right? I mean, everybody's going to take it however they want. And don't misjudge the reactions. Don't you think, Kelly? Like if you judge the reactions, you're actually taking away some of the magic.
Yeah, just let them have it, enjoy it or not enjoy it. But just don't, bring anything into it of expectation. But also just remembering that, our practices, we may in the beginning want to close our eyes because it's easier for us to go within. But as we develop in our practice, we should be able to sit with our eyes open. So practice that. If you're not doing it already, just practice doing your meditation with your eyes open and just gazing a little bit in front of you. Because when we're in with animals, especially like, I was in with a horse recently in the paddock, and I need to know where that horse is at all times. So I can't just be quietly not looking and then all of a sudden the horse is right here. So so it gives us, it keeps us safe, but also we are not, invading the animal space if we're just gazing gently. And like Leah said, just kind of peeking here and there. It's the direct, intense gaze that we want to stay away from. But we need to know what that animal is doing. So it's important for us to learn how to hold that space of meditation and healing space with our eyes open also.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you, Kelly, for that. So, so here, Monika put the name of the shelter. It's a Croatian word, which means friends. And you can follow us on Facebook. And whoever wants to share Reiki with us is welcome. It will mean a lot to our dog. So there is a perfect way to practice distant Reiki. For those of you who would like to do that, I think this is a really wonderful thing. And the wonderful thing is if we're all sharing Reiki with the shelter, and you can just imagine just like a beautiful light over the shelter. That's you're this light. Imagine in a couple months, we can hear from Monika and see if there are any changes that are like miracles, right? And we always love that because we have to remember our light is really powerful and our light is magical. And so just want to make sure we don't have any more comments. So please share with Monika. I mean, again, there's no shortage, unfortunately, of suffering animals, but we all do our best. So now we're coming to the end. I just want to talk about how we end our session. Always remember, we got to end with gratitude, right? Even when you start your session, please start it with gratitude. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be, like Monika was saying, I see you, you're important, I love you, right? Saying those really important affirmative words, you're safe, I love you, I'm so happy to be here, right? Starting with gratitude, ending with gratitude. Thank you so much for allowing me to be in your space. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this with you. I loved my time with you, right? We want to make sure we're always beginning and ending with gratitude. It is part of our magic sauce. And you heard Monika, when she says that to these dogs, when she lets them know, they understand. They may not come up to her right away, but they understand they're safe and she's there to help, not to hinder. Diane, I just want to say, I love your shirt. Diane, if you look at her, I don't know if you guys have on a gallery, but she has her little Let Animals Lead with the sea animals on it. And we're doing a new fundraiser that I'll talk about in just a second. So Sharon says, Monika, you are amazing. Thanks for all you do. We'll definitely send Reiki. And Diane says she loves her shirt so much. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it. I think we covered everything. We'll be making kind of a cheat sheet at the end of all of this in a couple weeks. I'll be sending out a cheat sheet for all of you to have, just so you can kind of have and remind yourself, okay, this is what I'm going to do when I go to a shelter, and this is how it looks like. And we'll be taking this and making a little handout for Sarah. So Kelly, did you have anything else you wanted to add before?
Yeah, I think kind of a running theme too is be patient.
Yes.
Not only with the animal, with the shelter, being patient with, getting on board in the shelter, but also being patient with the sessions with the animals, because it doesn't always happen quickly.
Yes. Yes. Be patient. That's a big one, because we don't really talk about that very much.
Right. And if you don't have patience, this will teach you patience.
Sure. Well, exactly. I mean, look at poor Monika. I mean, talk about patience, right? Mm-hmm. So, just a couple things, and then we'll do a quick meditation. But we are starting our World Animal Reiki Day fundraiser, t-shirt fundraiser tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow. And we have a new shirt. So it is a globe. It has the earth. It has people going around the globe. And it says, letting animals lead us to a better future. On the back, it says World Animal Reiki Day, has a SARA logo. We're doing it through Bonfire like we always do. I encourage you, if you want to participate in Ward, it's a great way to support SARA and to show people that you support letting animals lead. And then, oh yeah, Mary Lynn says, this is really important too. Mary Lynn says, let the staff know that you appreciate what they do. That's really important too.
That's a great point, Mary Lynn. Thank you.
And we'll talk more about how you can show staff appreciation in another call, but how you can offer chair truths and things. But yes, absolutely, Mary Lynn, we will be covering that because it is really important. They're doing the hard work. Like you heard Monika, she is the staff. So anyway, back to the shirts. If you want to participate in Ward, you don't have to buy a shirt. We're going to be talking more about it. Look on the Shelter Animal Reiki Association website. You don't have to be a member. You don't even have to be a Let Animals Lead Animal Reiki practitioner. It's February 5th is World Animal Reiki Day. We dedicate that day to giving gratitude to all animals. So if you love animals and you want to participate, all you got to do is just dedicate that day to saying thank you to the animals. Maybe you do a little shrine at your house, like Day of the Dead, you can do a little shrine, dedicate that to the animals. You can also participate in some of the events that we have going on. I think that Kelly, Kathleen, and I are creating something for February 4th, which is a Sunday, where we'll be coming together for a couple hours. We'll be bringing in some experts, and we're all going to be talking about why we love animals and how we can contribute to their well-being and welfare. And this series is part of that too. So look for that. If you're on the Shelter Animal Reiki Association email list, you'll get emails about the t-shirt fundraisers. So be sure to check in. And then we're also selling our Love Knows No Boundaries. And that's the one where we have like all different animals of the world in a circle, and it says Love Knows No Boundaries around it. And then it says meditate on the back. So another way that you can represent, we love these t-shirts because it's a really clear way for you to share what you do. So I know we haven't had time for questions on this one. Next week, we're definitely going to be opening it up. If you do have questions, please email the info@shelteranimalreikiassociation.org. And that way Kelly and I and Kathleen all get it, and we can answer questions for you. And Liza says, thank you so much, Liza. It was so great. See you. Oh, and then Monika says, yes, very useful to Mary Lynn. And then Wendy, oh, thank you for joining us, Wendy. I'm so glad you enjoyed the session. So let's do a short little meditation. Let's get comfortable. We'll go into Gasho. You can close your eyes to cut out all outside distractions. And just take a couple cleansing breaths here, breathing in deeply through your nose, pulling your breath into your belly, and then slowly breathing out your mouth. And with the out breath goes all tension that you're holding on to in your body. Whenever you're ready, set your intention that you're open to receive whatever it is that you need most at this moment in time, and that you're open to holding space for all sentient beings. And if there is anyone in particular that needs extra support, just bring them to mind and know that they will receive the full effects of this beautiful circle we're creating. Whenever you're ready, you can bring your hands face up or face down in your lap. And we're just going to be focusing on our breath, breathing in deeply through our nose, expanding our belly, and expanding the light that is at our belly. And on the out breath, expand your breath out through your mouth. And with your breath comes your light. So breathing in, expand the light within you. And on the out breath, expand that light into every cell of your being and into the space around you. Breathing in life and love, igniting that beautiful light at your core, at your belly, and on the out breath, expanding that light out. This is a beautiful reminder that you are light, you are love, you are strength, you are compassion. As you breathe in and out, you're reminding yourself that you are limitless, that your light is connected to all beings. And with your breath and with your intention, you can send your light thousands of miles or even right across the street and make a connection and bring light and love to all you connect with. And let us just dedicate the special time to Monika and to her beautiful residence at her shelter in Croatia. And let's all envision our light together, forming a beautiful bubble over Croatia. Focus on sending your light and your love to all who are open to it. Imagine Croatia just glowing like a beautiful sun. And know that your love and light are making a difference. And whenever you're ready, bring your hands into Gasho. We'll set our intent that we're ending this formal meditation. But please keep this beautiful, open, loving feeling in your heart throughout your day and into your night and into tomorrow, knowing that you can always access this space again by focusing on your breath and focusing on the love at your heart. And whenever you're ready, you can open up your eyes. Stop the recording here.